Hey Magpies, Magpie Leon here, and in the words of Count Dooku, I've been looking forward to this, because in today's video we're going to be talking about why I love Halo 3. From everything like the campaign, multiplayer, forge mode, memories I've had with it. Now obviously remember this is my opinion, so you may disagree and that's completely fine. It's okay to be wrong. Point is, obviously this is part of a series I've been doing. We've already covered Halo 1 and Halo 2, now we're on Halo 3. Next time will probably be on ODST, and that which means I've got to go back and play ODST because there's not too much I remember. Apparently I've completed it, but I have no recollection of completing it. That's not important. Anyway, today we're talking about Halo 3, so let's just jump straight in. So, where else to begin other than Halo 3's amazing campaign? And can I say, I do think Halo 3 has the best story in the series. That doesn't necessarily mean I think its campaign's the most fun, although it is. But I do genuinely think in terms of, as far as story goes, it's the most enjoyable and definitely the most replayable. Although I love Halo 2's gameplay, Halo 3 is the one that I find myself coming back to the most, which is why I'm very undetermined as to which one of those two games is my favourite, because although I do think Halo 2 has the better gameplay, Halo 3, there's just something about it. It's just its charm, it makes it so much more replayable and makes me want to go back to it all the time. Like, as of this point, this is the video that I've had the most fun going back to record. Even with Halo 3's multiplayer, which I tend to not get along very well. I enjoyed playing Halo 3's this time around more than I enjoyed Halo 2's, which is strange, but I'll get more onto that later. Halo 3's campaign is phenomenal. It's got really great level design, it's got pretty interesting characters, it's got some amazing cinematic moments too. There's just so much about Halo 3's campaign that is so great and so fun. I mean, just looking at the opening scene, you already know what you're in for. You already know that this game is not messing around, that it is here for business. I love the opening segment, it gives me chills every single time I watch it. Just Cortana's monologue over like Chief coming in from orbit, it's great how it picks up straight where Halo 2 left off, and in such a really cool way. I like the segment where it's like Chief on the ground and all the Marines depressed, thinking they've lost hope, and then he gets back up and the music kicks in and it's just so good. And then you're reintroduced to the Arbiter, and it's just such a good segment. It is so well done, and so, like, it's just fun to watch. It just makes me happy to watch. And then that first level anyway is just really fun. It sort of, like, I'd say it really sets the tone for the game, and it's very different from the opening level from the past two games. Obviously both Halo 1 and 2, you're on a ship when the game opens up, but this time you're straight down there, you're in this jungle, which it feels quite new, even though we've experienced sort of environments similar to it. This, like, for this level, it feels new. Obviously, you're introduced to quite a few enemy types straight away. You know, you do fight brutes and everything really early on, and obviously, I mean, they are now the main enemy occupying the Covenant. But the brutes were just really fun to fight in this game. I definitely think they were more enjoyable here than they were in Halo 2. But then again, I guess they were more of like a special class enemy in Halo 2, if that makes sense. Either way, I think the brutes have great character design in this. They just look so sort of menacing, but you can also sort of see how strong they are just through the design. I definitely find them really fun to fight. Same with all the other enemies. I think the jackals and grunts and everything, they're all really great in Halo 3, and obviously that definitely helps to make the campaign more enjoyable. I just think that the first level, it's really fun. I mean, I always tend to go and pick up that skull straight away. Even though there's no reason to, I just always go there because I know where it is off by heart, and I just happen to always find myself going for it. It's just, I guess it's just force of habit. But, like, not just the first level, Halo 3 has so many great levels. I don't really think that there's one that I dislike. I genuinely enjoy playing through every single level of this game, even the ones that are more challenging like Cortana later on. It's weird, Halo has a rough experience with boss fights, but I do think the Scarab boss fights in Halo 3 are a big step up from the one in Halo 2. They're genuinely really fun every single time they're there, from the first one to the one later on. Well, to the two later on. I think there's three, right? Point is, the Scarabs are really fun to fight. I don't know, there's just something about them. The boss fights are so memorable, and there's some of the best boss fights in games. Definitely a step up from literally any form of boss fight that we had in Halo 2. It's just a shame that the end boss, which is not really even a boss fight, 343 Guilty Spark, was definitely underwhelming, and one of the things that I wish could have been a bit better, because it definitely seemed like they had this big open boss arena and probably a more diverse boss fight planned that I guess maybe they just never had the chance to fully create, which is a shame. But we do have some amazing Scarab fights, and they're just fun. And that's the most important thing with the game. They're extremely fun. There's so many different ways you can go about it. I tend to always follow a similar route when I fight them, but there is a lot of different ways you can approach it, and I think that's something that's really great about Halo. Obviously, some of my other favourite things about the campaign is like the Flood's introduction. I'd argue that the Flood being introduced in Halo 3 is just as impactful and just as iconic as it is in Combat Evolved. You have that one segment of the game where you're fighting off the Covenant, you take out that Covenant anti-air cannon, and all the hopeful music plays as it seems like things are going well, and then Truth activates the key ship, goes up, and the ship comes through slip space, and Chief instantly recognises that it's the Flood. Then all of a sudden you're in the same sort of area that you were just, but now the atmosphere, the skybox, it's a lot more gloomy, and you see the Flood jumping across rooftops as you see Marines firing in the background. I think it's really intense. Like, it sort of keeps you on edge up until you finally are fighting the Flood, because you never know when they're going to approach it, and I definitely think it's a really great way to introduce them. I think my favourite level through the campaign is definitely the Covenant. I think it's just got so much about it. I really enjoy the part of the level where you're flying around in the Hornet. I think that part's just really fun. It was a nice change to the pacing of levels, and I do hope we get to see more sort of stuff like that in the future. I know there's little bits here and there, and one thing it does make me itch for is space fights in Halo. That's explored a little bit in Reach, but I definitely don't think there's been enough. For a game that is heavily sort of focused on sci-fi and space and everything, I'm surprised at the lack of space battles we've had. I do hope that's something that we get a bit more of in Infinite, considering all the air vehicles are really fun to control. So that is something I'd love to see more of, and I really hope that ends up being the case in Infinite. I think this level just has so much that makes it really cool, from when the Flood are introduced in it later on. The storming of their big citadel looking thing when you have to fight the two Scarabs on the Hornet. That bit is really fun. I definitely just think this level does a lot of things right, and it's genuinely just a fun experience, and that's the most important thing. You even get a little segment on the Scorpion and stuff like that. It's just great. It's really enjoyable, and I really enjoy this level. It's probably the one that I tend to go back to playing the most, the one that I remember playing the most as a kid, and just my favourite overall. I think I just replay that Scarab boss fight over and over. It's just really fun, and I am obsessed with it. And I know I've used the word fun a lot, but that is the main thing that Halo 3 is. It's a very fun game. I think as well, the campaign gets a lot of things right in terms of its characters. What benefits the campaign more than anything is its music. It plays the right song at the right moment every single time. The music complements everything that's going on so well. Perfect example, the last level, the Warthog run. It's perfect. I don't really need to say too much about it. Like, the music just feels so hopeful when it needs to, and really sort of scary in other times. Like, when you are fighting the Flood, the music that plays is genuinely terrifying, and then the music, when like maybe you're winning a fight, it starts to get a bit louder almost, and it feels really hopeful and cheery, and it drives you to sort of to fight even harder, and I think that's great and definitely makes it even more enjoyable. Halo 3 overall I think has my favourite soundtrack of the series. It has the best music. At this point at least, Infinite may have a better one, but I just think Halo 3 has more songs that I actually remember the names of, and I have a lot of them in my Spotify playlist, because I just think its soundtrack's really great. Now, one thing I did mention earlier, very briefly, is the characters. I do think Halo 3 expands on the characters quite a lot. Johnson just is even more great in this, and I didn't even know that was possible, which makes his death even harder. Like, Johnson's death in this game genuinely makes me upset. When you have such a great character, you obviously, the audience is upset when they die, and that's the problem. That's something that Halo is missing at the minute. It's missing really enjoyable side characters. Like, Halo 3 has a lot. I think Miranda Keyes was also pretty great in this game, and as much as people hate it, I really think the to war line earlier on in the game I think it's a really good line, and it sort of like quite sets the tone. It shows how serious the characters are. I know a lot of people think it's really cheesy, but I don't know, there's something about that line that I've always liked. I think Miranda Keyes in this game is genuinely also a really good character, and her death is also quite upsetting. But the main focus is sort of the dynamic between Chief and the Arbiter, and also Chief and Cortana. I think Chief and Cortana's relationship in this game, although it's actually briefer than you realise at times, because Cortana technically isn't with you until the end of the game. They have a great character dynamic between them that's just expanded even further in Halo 3. And the relationship between Chief and the Arbiter, I think it's really fun. It's just sort of it's great seeing how these two enemies have become such good friends through their experiences and stuff. And I do hope if the Arbiter shows up in Infinite that we get more of that. Even if the Arbiter isn't a playable character, I'd love to be able to fight alongside him as Chief and have some pretty unique interactions between the two of them. One thing that I think always sticks with me is on the level Cortana. If you are playing it on your own, the Arbiter comes in to help you fight. He comes in with a flamethrower and starts fighting off all the Flood. And that's another bit that's just always stuck with me. It shows how the Arbiter as a character does care about Chief, and I think that's quite interesting. But stepping away from all the single player content, let's just go over to the multiplayer real quick. Now, I have an extreme love-hate relationship with Halo 3's multiplayer, and I always have. It's one of them where I'm not really as good at Halo 3 as I am some of the other games. I say this, and I did not do that well in Halo 2 when I was recording that video either. Maybe it's just because I haven't been playing that much Halo lately, I don't know. Halo 3's multiplayer, I found it can be really stressful, and some days I love it, other days I'd literally rather be playing anything else, and I just question why I turn the multiplayer on a lot of the time. But it is fun. Like, when it's at its best, you know it's at its best, because it is really enjoyable. Especially like just private games with friends and stuff. I think Halo 3 has some great maps. For example, Sandtrap is amazing, and I'd love to see it brought back. I always tend to just hop in an elephant and drive around with it, even though I know I'm just going to be taken out from behind. I just think it's funny. I don't know, there's just something about having that giant vehicle there that was always quite interesting to me, and I'd love to see more stuff like that. I just wish that people would, you know, occasionally hop on and operate the turrets with me. It makes me kind of sad, and I always feel so alone. Point is, I think Halo 3's multiplayer is fun when it's at its best, but other times it can be really stressful. It definitely has its flaws, and I'm not going to say that it's a perfect game, because I know it isn't. I don't like the Halo 3 shotgun. It's fine in the campaign, but in the multiplayer, I don't know why I pick it up. I never get anyone with it. I tend to try and make the most of using the shotgun melee combo, but they're never actually close enough to me, and I can't get close enough to them. It's just, yeah, a lot of the time it is down to my own skill level as to why I get annoyed and to why I don't perform too well, but it still makes me mad at the game. Obviously, in terms of sort of returning features, dual wielding's back, and it works well in some cases. I do use, once again, even though it's awful and probably my least favourite in the series, I tend to pick up the Halo 3 Magnum more than I should. I enjoy dual wielding it, and I'm surprised I don't attempt the noob combo while dual wielding a little more. It's strange, I don't know. And obviously playable elites are back, and now they've got even better they actually have customization other than just colours, unlike in Halo 2, but that's the case with the Spartans too. Armor customization played a big part in Halo 3's multiplayer, and you could make your characters feel a lot more unique. And this is something that's been expanded upon even more with Master Chief Collection. I really love all the new content we're getting for MCC. I love all the new armors. As I'm recording this, the Fireteam Raven update dropped yesterday, I think, and so far I'm loving all the new customization options. I think some of the armor is really cool. I do hope we get new elite armor, because I feel like the elites are being really overshadowed right now, and that is kind of upsetting. But I mean, seeing the Fireteam Raven armors in Halo 3 is really cool. Like, that can't be understated. That is really cool, and it's nice to see how they're giving attention to something like that. I just think armor customization is something that, you know, is very, very cool. And I know once again I'm using that word a lot, but it's it's the only word that I can think that truly describes how I feel about it. I really enjoy just sitting there in the customization menu for ages customizing my Spartan, and now there's even more options in Master Chief Collection, like weapon skins and everything in Master Chief Collection. I know this is stuff that isn't really in the base Halo 3, but I think it's amazing seeing weapon skins in this game that had always kind of looked the same. It's nice to see new stuff come to it. And I think a lot of people are a bit too harsh on 343 for adding this sort of stuff. I mean, it did add a toggle, which, you know, at least the few people that are complaining sort of, they get their way too, and it shows how 343 does care. But I do think it's really fun to experience Halo 3 with all this brand new stuff. And if you do use the Gen 2 undersuit, I probably will hate you. But hey, it's just personal preference at the end of the day. It's okay if you want to use the Gen 2 undersuit, and I cannot believe those words came out of my mouth in that order. But I do genuinely like some new armors, like Hive Mind. Although at first I thought it was hideous, for some reason it's growing on me. I don't know why. And I know I've just like crapped on the Gen 2 undersuits, but something about the Hive Mind helmet, it's just growing on me. Will I ever use it? No, I'm probably always going to stick with the Mark V, but that's not the point here. I have a lot of memories with Halo 3, and a lot of those come down to modes that were built in maps that were built in Forge with modes that coincided to them. I think Forge was a great addition. Like, Forge is really fun. Once again, using the word fun because there's nothing else that can describe it. It was nice being able to sort of create your own things and to add new stuff. It's a great way to test weapons out if you want to and all that sort of stuff. Forge has so many uses, and although in Halo 3 it's a bit simple compared to what it becomes, it was still a great addition to the series, and one that really helped the lifespan of Halo 3. Point is, I love Halo 3. You know, making this video, I started to realise maybe it is my favourite in the series. I've really enjoyed recording this video, and this is the one I've been looking forward to making the most. Even though I still have many more to go, I will try my best to get all of them done before Infinite releases, so then I can do the why I love Halo Infinite video. If I love Halo Infinite, who am I kidding? Chief looks awesome in it. I'm not going to love Infinite. Surprisingly, I haven't spoke about Chief that much this video. Weird. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed this video. I am going to leave it there today. This has been quite a blast for me. Just going back and sort of going through some of the Halo 3 campaign levels again. Even though it wasn't that long since I have last played them, it's made me realise I do miss streaming Halo, but at the same time, I understand why I've taken a bit of a break from it. I will get back to streaming eventually if you are a frequent viewer of said streams. But until then, folks, I'll catch you in the next one.